A young woman runs through the darkened village, screaming desperately for help. But before anyone can reach her, the screams suddenly stop. By morning, her lifeless body is discovered in the bushes surrounding a remote village in western Nigeria. And unfortunately, this is far from the first case. As fear spreads across the community, the British colonial authorities assign a northern police inspector named Dinladi Waziri to investigate a disturbing series of assaults and murders terrorizing the village of Akoti, just days before Nigeria's independence. The moment Waziri arrives, he senses that something is deeply wrong. The villagers watch him in silence. Conversations abruptly end whenever he approaches. And beneath the calm surface of the village lies an atmosphere filled with fear, suspicion, and hidden secrets. Among the most respected figures in Akoti is Prince Adaropo, the first man from the village to graduate from university. To the people, he symbolizes progress, intelligence, and hope for a better future. Everywhere he goes, he is welcomed with admiration. However, as Waziri begins investigating the murders, he notices a disturbing pattern emerging. All the victims are young virgins. The attacks always occur late at night. And somehow, the killer vanishes without leaving behind a single trace. Before long, Waziri reaches a terrifying conclusion. Akoti is not dealing with an ordinary criminal. They are dealing with a serial killer. Meanwhile, Adaropo spends most evenings drinking with his childhood friends, Tawa and Agbakoya, at the local bar. At first glance, their lives appear normal. But things take a darker turn when one of Adaropo's guards abandons his post to secretly spend the night with his lover. The following morning, the young woman is found dead. Naturally, suspicion immediately falls on the guard, and he is arrested. But then something impossible happens. While the guard remains locked inside police custody, another young woman is murdered. Panic instantly spreads throughout the village. During a tense gathering at the local bar, the village priest, Baba Ifa, quietly warns Waziri that the killings will continue until the murderer is finally satisfied. The statement immediately angers Waziri. As an outsider determined to enforce colonial law, he sees Baba Ifa as a manipulative figure using fear and superstition to influence the villagers. So Waziri orders his arrest. However, Sergeant Afanja refuses to carry out the command. The disagreement creates immediate tension between the two officers. Furious, Waziri suspends Afanja on the spot and replaces him with a younger corporal named Omaladin. Unlike Waziri, Omaladin understands the customs and sensitivities of the village. Rather than forcing Baba Ifa into custody, he peacefully invites him to the station and acts as a translator during the conversation with Waziri. Unknown to Waziri, Omaladin deliberately softens his threats, preventing the situation from escalating further. At first, the decision appears wise, but unfortunately, the violence continues. Days later, another woman is murdered. That same night, Omaladin quietly follows a suspicious figure moving through the village under the cover of darkness. Sensing danger, he draws his weapon and orders the stranger to stop, warning that he will shoot if the figure attempts to flee. Slowly, the figure obeys. But the moment Omaladin finally sees the person's face, his expression changes completely. Shock freezes him in place. Before he can react or even speak, the stranger suddenly lunges at him with a knife. The struggle is quick and vicious. Moments later, Omaladin collapses to the ground while the mysterious attacker disappears back into the darkness before anyone can arrive. And just like that, Omaladin vanishes without explanation. Days later, the body of a young Igbo woman is discovered. Her death immediately sparks ethnic tension throughout the village. Consumed by anger, the girl's father, Okafor, and several armed tribesmen capture a Hausa traveler passing nearby and accuse him of being the serial killer. The innocent man is dragged through the streets and handed over to Waziri. Even under interrogation, he repeatedly insists that he knows nothing about the murders. However, he reveals one strange detail. Right before the attack, he heard someone whistling a tune. That small detail remains in Waziri's mind. At the same time, pressure from the British authorities continues to intensify. With Nigeria's independence approaching rapidly, they demand that the case be solved before the celebrations begin. Feeling cornered, Waziri falsely informs his superiors that the killer has already been captured and the investigation is nearly complete. But Okafor refuses to accept the decision. Convinced Waziri is protecting the suspect because they share the same northern background, he lashes out in anger. During the prisoner's transfer, Okafor suddenly throws a machete toward the helpless traveler. The blade strikes directly into the man's chest. Even as he dies, the traveler continues repeating the same words. "I didn't do it." That moment changes Waziri completely. For the first time, he realizes innocent people are now dying because the real killer is still free. So he recalls Sergeant Afanja back to duty. Unlike before, Waziri now understands he cannot solve the case alone. One evening, Waziri joins several villagers drinking palm wine late into the night. As the streets grow quieter and darker, he slowly makes his way home alone, heavily intoxicated. Then suddenly, he hears someone whistling nearby, the exact same tune described by the dead traveler. Before Waziri can react, a shadow emerges from the darkness and violently attacks him. Everything becomes blurred. Because of the alcohol, he cannot clearly identify his attacker. However, while recovering inside of Fanja's home, fragments of memory slowly begin returning to him. A face, a voice, a familiar presence. The following morning, Waziri quietly visits the market square and begins observing Ataropo from a distance. Not his words, not his reputation, his body language. And for the first time, Waziri notices something deeply unsettling hidden beneath Ataropo's calm appearance. Fear, pain, and years of buried rage. As the investigation deepens, Waziri visits Tawa and learns that both Ataropo and Agbakoya once received scholarships from a respected missionary priest named Reverend Dowling. At first, the information appears harmless, but everything changes when Waziri later speaks privately with Agbakoya. Agbakoya finally reveals the horrifying truth both men have hidden since childhood. For years, Reverend Dowling abused them. Suddenly, the pieces begin falling into place. The anger, the violence, the psychological trauma. Waziri realizes the murders are connected to years of pain buried deep within Ataropo's mind. But despite finally understanding the motive, the killings are still continuing. Determined to uncover the truth completely, Waziri intensifies the investigation and receives official records from Ibadan confirming something critical. Ataropo returned to Akoti exactly 1 day before the very first murder occurred. Now Waziri is certain. The village's most respected prince is the serial killer everyone has been searching for. But exposing him could destroy the fragile peace surrounding Nigeria's independence celebrations. Still, Waziri knows he has no choice. During the massive independence celebration, fireworks illuminate the sky while villagers celebrate freedom and unity. At the same time, Ataropo secretly leads Tawa to an abandoned childhood hideout hidden deep within the forest. Unknown to her, she is meant to become his 6th victim, each victim representing 1 year of abuse he suffered under Reverend Dowling. Meanwhile, Waziri and Afanja desperately search for them, but they have no idea where the hideout is located. As time runs out, Agbakoya finally reveals the location and leads the officers deep into the forest. By the time they arrive, the situation has already spiraled out of control. Tawa is trapped, Ataropo is emotionally unstable, and the hideout has become a nightmare. Waziri attempts to calm him down peacefully. For a brief moment, it almost works, but then Ataropo suddenly grabs Agbakoya and holds him hostage. The tension instantly explodes. Waziri begs him to release his friend, but Ataropo refuses. And in the end, everything comes down to one final decision. If Waziri hesitates, more innocent lives could be lost. So he pulls the trigger. Ataropo collapses to the ground. And just like that, the killings finally come to an end. However, the story is far from over. After concluding the investigation, Waziri presents the full truth to the British colonial authorities. But instead of revealing the truth publicly, they order him to conceal Ataropo's identity. Their reason is simple. Nigeria is on the verge of independence, and exposing a scandal involving such a respected prince could ignite chaos across the region. Waziri despises the decision, but reluctantly, he agrees. After everything he has witnessed, Waziri is no longer the same man who first arrived in Akoti. He came searching for a murderer. Instead, he uncovered a village consumed by silence, trauma, fear, and secrets buried beneath tradition, power, and colonial politics. Because in the end, this story is not just about murder. It is about the devastating damage hidden pain can create when it is ignored for too long. Do you think Waziri made the right decision by hiding Ataropo's identity to protect the country's independence? Or should the truth have been revealed no matter the consequences? Let me know in the comments. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this.
Thanks for watching.